Well, hey friends, this is Jennifer, and this is podcast episode number 203. So today I have a really fun guest with me here on the podcast. I'm interviewing today Bethany Hamilton. So a lot of you are going to remember Bethany Hamilton as the girl who was a professional surfer, and at age 13, she lost her left arm to a 14-foot tiger shark. And, the majority of the world thought that would end her surfing career. And she was such a rising star. But within 1 month of the attack, Bethany literally returned to the water. And within 2 years, won her first national title. She has a New York Times best-selling autobiography. She's still a professional surfer. She's got 2 kiddos. And her story is in the documentary called Soul Surfer, which I highly suggest that you go and watch. It was fabulous. Her latest project is called Unstoppable. And it's a documentary that is showcasing her as one of the best surfers in the world. But yet we're talking with her today just about all the other things that Bethany has going on in her life. And how do you continue to get up and breathe again and do things when life kind of hands you, something that would want to stop you in its tracks. So I hope that you enjoy this interview. Without further ado, here's Bethany. Bethany, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you.
So we got to have confessional right at the beginning of the podcast here. Okay. I'm going back to the days when I used to be Catholic. Okay. So I got to tell you 2 things. Number 1, I can't swim worth a darn. Number 2, I'm like, we just got to get it all out. I was supposed to have a cavity filled this afternoon. And I knew that they were going to do 2 cavities, but then I got there and they're like, Jennifer, you have 2 cavities and a crown we're doing today. So when I tell you that my face, like if you're watching Bethany and I on YouTube right now, when my face is like so numb from my nose to my chin. I've been under laughing gas for like 3 hours. And so if it sounds like I'm slurring, I just want you to know it's just because my mouth is numb. I have not been hitting the bottle today.
We will bear with you.
Okay. Well, so I am so excited to chat with you today. I have a list of questions I want to ask you. And so the way that I want my listeners to know that I was recently on a 1-day mastermind with my friend Pete Vargas and a bunch of influencers in the online space, course creators and things like that. And Bethany was there. And I'm like, what is Bethany Hamilton doing here? Like, this is so cool. And because you have a course and you're doing stuff in the online space. And I was like, well, let's get this girl on here because anybody who just listened to me introduce you, they will know you as the woman who had a shark attack when she was 13, who's now an adult woman with a family, with a husband, with kids, and doing other things. And I think it's so cool, all the things that you're doing. And so I just want to talk about that. How is that when you meet people for the first time and they already probably know who you are, they know maybe your story, but they don't know a whole lot about you other than about the shark attack. Is that weird? Is that yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird space to be in. And I am personally not the type of person who needs attention or likes to be in the spotlight. So it's interesting how after I lost my arm, the news was just worldwide. And then that was just the start of the journey of this life that God's given me. And for me, I know that there's so many of us in need of love and a reminder of hope.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I try to come back to when people approach me. Sometimes people are really nice and sometimes they're bluntly odd and uncomfortable. So it's just, I get a whole array of everything.
Yeah. Well, in my head, as I was preparing mentally while I was in the chair today for this interview, I was thinking, it probably has to be weird because people have seen you on Oprah. They've seen you in People magazine. Your face has been everywhere and your story's been everywhere. And you've probably had a lot of healing from a very traumatic experience, but then people probably want to drag you back there in conversation all the time. And you can tell, I watched your documentary, as I said here in the introduction, and you can tell you're such a sweet, approachable person. But in my head, I was thinking, I'll bet that's hard I wonder if you ever feel like there's so much more to me than just that story from when I was 13. I wonder if that's ever like, I want to be so sweet and like answer everybody's questions, but I also like have a whole lot of other life other than just that one day. Is that
Actually, I'm maybe not as sweet as you think. I don't want to answer everyone's questions. To be honest, I'm just like, no, let's move on, but let's talk about this instead.
I actually love that.
Yeah, it's more of like, I'm pretty like upfront and I'll just like beat around the bush.
Yeah.
To get to where I want to go. And I think after like 17 years, you just learn how to like beat around the bush.
Has it been that long ago?
Yeah. So, and that's partially why I made my documentary, Unstoppable, was to kind of like share beyond the story. And, you know, my story would be a long lost story, forgotten, never world renowned, really, if I hadn't got back in the ocean. So that's really what my story is about.
Yeah.
It's, people resonate truly a lot more with the story of hope. Yes, drama is entertaining.
Yes.
But my story would be nothing if I didn't get back on my board, so to say.
Right. Okay. And so you talk about this, and the documentary is fabulous, by the way. And so it, you know, it shows everything leading up to that day, and then it shows, you know, in the hospital. And I was just stunned by your positivity and the fact that you were willing to get back on a board just weeks later. Like, tell me, like, how does that happen? Like, were you just born like this really positive, natural, like I can do anything person? Or what do you think is in you that's like, you know what, I'm going to get right back up there, even though I could let this thing stop me?
Yeah, so I guess I was 13 at the time, and I remember being in the hospital and kind of realizing my arm's gone, like I'm in the hospital, who knows, like my world's upside down, who knows what my future holds. And before that, the like background of little Bethany was she was a very determined go-getter, like ready to conquer the world of surf in particular, but the world as a whole too.
Yes.
But I was a super talent, you know, for my age. So that was definitely like my direction. So having that feeling like that had been stripped away. And I imagine a lot of your listeners today are feeling like their hopes and dreams have been stripped away in a sense, in a lot of different realms, so to say, with the last year or so. And it kind of became, from there, just a distinguishing of what will my future look like, finding my hope, my peace, my direction, so to say. And so I remember waking up in the hospital room and thinking, well, I could very well be dead today. Like I had lost over 60% of my blood. Like, so God has me here for a reason, and I'm just going to trust in you, Lord. And that also was paired with this feeling of just gratitude. Yeah, gratitude to be alive. And I think having that sense of gratitude like really propelled me forward instead of like into a dark spiral downward. And then I got a hint of hope. I mean, I was also like just of faith, and my, you know, I had a really beautiful sense of peace that God was in control. And same with my mom, whereas my dad was like angry, like frustrated, like mad at God, like took him a while to like come around.
Back around.
You know, and we all deal with challenge differently. So I understand my dad, like now being a mom, I can't imagine like how I would handle that situation with my kids. Yeah. But that being said, my mom did an amazing job, especially just the way that she raised me and supported me as a child. And so when something like this traumatic event happened, it was part of life. Like I love that verse, John 16:33. And I have said these things to you, that in me you will have peace. In the world you will have tribulation. But take heart, I've overcome the world. And it's just a reminder that like life's not a cakewalk. We're gonna have trouble. We're gonna have pain. Sin is rampant. But God has already overcome it all. And that's ultimately our hope in the dark hours.
So obviously your faith has played a huge like part in your life. I know you were in, I think I saw this on the documentary too, that you were at the White House National Day of Prayer at some point in the last 17 years. I don't remember when that was, but so faith is obviously really an important component in your life. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is that something from your parents? Is that something like, you just, as long as you can remember, that's been something that's been important to you?
Yeah, my parents definitely instilled faith in me at a young age. And then I kind of grew into believing in God on my own. And so transitioning into teenage and high school years, I just had like a really beautiful kind of trust that God had me, even when times were annoying or frustrating or hard. And then carrying on into adult life and marriage, it's just like God's like the mortar between all the bricks, keeping things going in a healthy direction.
Yeah, well, I love that. And as a woman who has 3 teenagers, that gives me lots of hope. So thank you for that. So I liked also that you kind of touched on the fact that there are probably a lot of people who are listening who have had something traumatic happen, whether in 2020 or just at another time in life. Just we all have things that happen that sometimes just make us feel like, the absolute air has just been sucked out of our lungs. And sometimes I think it's hard to get back up and kind of persevere through that. So do you have any advice for someone who's, they've kind of been living life and going about things, and then they have something that happens that just throws them for an absolute loop? Like, how do you give other people who maybe aren't wired exactly with that same positivity that I think that you're wired with, or even, people who don't have like a faith background like you and I do? Like, is there any advice you can give them for, when something hits, when life happens and throws you for a loop? What can you do?
I might run with this one a bit because, I mean, no doubt we're all going to have challenge and pain. So I think like knowing that, just having that simple knowing of like, okay, tomorrow might not necessarily be easier, even though today was hard. And just having that kind of grace on yourself in the situation, and also to like really fight for your gratitude. Like I said, after I lost my arm, like the gratitude spiraled me forward instead of spiraling me down into like a dark place of depression or just self-pity. And then, if you're not of faith, I mean, there's so many amazing tools, whether you live a life of faith or not. But for me, like a big theme in my life has been to adapt. So I kind of like have broken down adapting into like 5 keys, and it starts with gratitude. So just being able to appreciate the life you do have, the things in front of you. From there, I had this conversation with a woman by the name of Kate Merrick. If you ever want to have someone else on your podcast.
Oh, yes. I'd love that.
She's amazing. But Kate Merrick, she's written a few books and she's a mom and she's just had a wild journey. But she was in the hospital room one day scrolling on her social media feed. And meanwhile, her 8-year-old daughter is laying there essentially dying of cancer. And she felt herself getting more and more bitter. The minutes that she just sat there kind of wasting her last bit of time with her young daughter. And she kind of like had a big wake-up call of like, wait, I have this beautiful child and life right in front of me, yet I'm getting bitter on this scroll. And so she kind of like took things really extreme, like pushed everything to the side and just like soaked up what she had in front of her daughter, her family, and she eventually had another young girl. And just that's kind of her life motto now, is to like appreciate and like be grateful for what she does have, and to live like with a be present mindset. And that's truly changed my life. Like now being a mom, like you have to be present with your children. If you're being distracted and pulled in every which direction, you're gonna have no clue like what's going on in their little minds or their young minds. And all the challenges they're now facing in the world. Then from appreciative, we go to directed, and just, I think, having a sense of direction. And that's been like a key thing on my heart this year, is like everyone's being kind of like stopped, like held back, and they're losing their sense of direction and like something to work towards. So I just challenge, I'm assuming it's mostly women listening to
it is.
Like, take some time to figure out some direction for your life. Like after some of my bigger challenges, I've had a lot more than just the arm loss, but the bigger challenge is just having something to work towards and press forward towards is so important. And it will keep us out of that negative, like downward spiral mindset. And, there's a world of need around us. So keeping our eyes open beyond what we got to get done, but knowing that there's tons of directions you can head your life in. And then from there, we go to associate. So just finding your community, the people you associate, like just really choosing them wisely, people that are going to lift you up.
Amen to that.
Celebrate you, push you forward. And I mean, no doubt, like the gnarliest times in my life, like my community kept me alive.
I love that you just said gnarly. That just took me back to the 80s. It was amazing.
And then I'll skim through the last bit, but just continue to persevere. Life's not going to get easier necessarily. We'll have some rays of sunshine, and with the Lord, we always have that underlying hope. But just continue to persevere through the harder things and fall back on your gratitude and community. And then finally, as we adapt in this world, in this life, like continue to be teachable. I don't care how old you are. Like I hope I continue to like grow myself and learn and seek more wisdom than I have from others. And that's been such a key thing for me. And I would not be anywhere where I am today without being like having that approach of like teachability and growing myself and just being pushed by others. So
so I know like the unstoppable theme is major for you right now. That's the name of your documentary. And that's the course that you have it. I think we're going to talk about the course here at the end. And so what does that actually mean for you? The unstoppable, like, is it just keeping going when life comes your way? Like, tell me about the whole unstoppable, kind of theme in general. I love it.
Yeah. So I guess when we first were working on my documentary, or when it was finished, it was like figuring out a name. And I didn't really want to keep the whole, like, if people have heard of my story, you may have known me as Soul Surfer Girl or whatever. Yes. And I just like, I didn't want to cling on to that. I wanted it to be its own like separate kind of story portrayal of my life. And I couldn't come up with the name, so our director did, but he was like, I look at you and think unstoppable.
Which is amazing.
Like, wow, that's a big word to live up to. Like, I don't know about that. But I think there's more of this underlying like theme of like pushing through those hard times. And ultimately, I don't think of myself as like perfect or like, superwoman, but like more of just like through Christ, I'm unstoppable. And it's Christ that instills that ability to live on and move forward and to forgive and to bless others and to live a life of meaning and purpose and passion. And so I'm embracing the unstoppable in me, and I want others to embrace the unstoppable in themselves and just find that like hope that they can overcome those dark, challenging moments and trials that they're facing, and be unstoppable.
I love that. So how much are you still surfing?
Well, I am 1 month out from giving birth. So I'm on
Are you okay? Wait. I don't think I knew this. You have two.
Yes.
Okay. So tell our listeners, you have, I'm trying to remember, is it 2 boys already?
Yeah, I have 2 boys, Tobias and Wesley, 5 and 3 almost.
Okay. And you're getting ready to have another.
Yeah. So
is it a girl or a boy? Do you know?
We're doing surprise baby. So
excellent. Oh, so you're probably not surfing a ton right now.
No, I'm taking a break at that final stretch and just focusing on being ready for birth.
Yes. Well, thank you for still doing an interview, at 8 months pregnant. But so tell me, like, one of the biggest lessons you've learned from being like a pro surfer. Like, I can't even wrap my head around, as a woman who, listen, honestly, like I know at the beginning of this, I told you that I learned how to swim at age 39. I started swim lessons because for my 40th birthday, I wanted to do a triathlon. I tell the whole story in my book, Here's Not the Boss of You, about how I had never, like, I couldn't even take a shower without snorting water. So like, when I was watching your documentary, I'm like all triggered because I'm like, we have a pool in our backyard. And honest to goodness, Bethany, last year I didn't put my head underwater one time in my own pool in the backyard. So like the surfing part of this is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I feel like the ocean is endless analogies of life lessons. But specifically, I think it teaches you a lot of grit and humility, because like you can one day feel like on the moon, like one of the best surfers in the world. And then the next day you're just totally off your game and totally struggling. And it's just like really humbling, but there's so much beauty to being able to spend a lot of time in the ocean. I grew up here in Hawaii, and the ocean was my playground. So we have really different backgrounds. I'm like, I was gone at age 7, like rambling the ocean, unsupervised, so to say.
And that, like, as a parent, like now that you have kids, your oldest son is only like 2 years away from the age that you first were, when you were just like, bye mom, bye dad, I'm going to could you imagine that?
Yeah, you know what? And my parents did something really smart. They put me in swim team at a young age. And it was like the gnarly, like grindy swim team where you're like swimming laps, and he's like, you got to do this in 20 seconds, like go as fast as you can. Like sometimes to the point of like, whoa, like I'm pretty sure my swim coach wanted me to like aim for the Olympics, but I was aiming for the ocean.
Right.
But that instilled like just a lot of safety. And then I also did like junior lifeguards. So they did some smart calls that like probably brought them a lot of mental peace. And I honestly have never really had any scares with like swimming or being like stuck in the ocean where it was like gnarly. I always knew how to get myself out of any situation. And so I think they had a good plan, basically.
Well, I just like kudos to your parents, because
I'm going to follow their lead with my own.
I don't think like I'm a helicopter parent, but we do have a 6.5-year-old, and like she's out in the cul-de-sac right now, and I keep looking over just to make sure like she's okay. I can't imagine her being like, hey mom, I'm headed for the beach, later.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, let me pack a bag. Okay. So
I mean, they were probably within like reaching distance, but like pretty independent at that point.
But I also think like what a gift to you to just to allow you the freedom to really like explore and learn and do some things that gave you probably a lot of confidence in yourself and a lot of courage at a very early age. So
and definitely like the lifestyle here in Hawaii is so different. Like it's very low key. Like I know half the people on the beach. So it's like all the parents have each other's backs. It's like, awesome. It's very like communal, I'm like, if I see my friend's kid in trouble, I'll just go help them right away. Like I don't even think twice. So it has that feeling of like, just everyone's antsy to jump in and help out.
Can you imagine living anywhere but Hawaii?
Oh, I've tried to imagine and I just cannot at this point. I just, something about out here, like some people get island fever, but I definitely don't. Granted, we do travel a lot typically. So I kind of have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Very cool. So tell us how something you wish that like people maybe knew about you, something that maybe isn't in the documentary or, we wouldn't know. Just from the girl we see on social media. What would you love people to know about you?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not quite the attention sort of person, but
are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm maybe in the middle or gearing more towards introvert, but I think just like my life has opened me up in a lot of ways. Yeah. So I'm like maybe proof that you can turn an introvert into someone an extrovert.
Well, you're probably like
if I just meet someone and I don't really know them or have any kind of like, thing to warm us up, I'm not going to be like, yeah, let's talk for like 30 minutes. Like, I'm more like, they got to like open me up maybe.
Yeah. You're probably like when I'm around people, because I have to be extroverted at times for my job. I just do. Yeah. But I love being around people, but I just need lots of downtime afterwards. Lots of like, no talk, silence. Yeah. Everybody give me my space just a little bit. So So tell me about this course that you're doing, because when I saw you on that mastermind, I'm like, wait, Bethany has a course, like this is so cool. So I know it's also called the Unstoppable Course. So you've got the whole theme going, but like, when did this idea of you starting a course come about, and what's the course itself about? And I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah. So, that's just such a big passion project of mine that I kind of started after I finished my documentary, which was a few years ago now. And the heart behind it was like, I've been in this space of inspiration, but I always felt like it was like we had the first conversation, but never got past that with people. I really love motivational speaking, especially in person, especially to youth and young people. But I just really wanted to do more. And so we just kind of launched this idea. Initially, I was going to do an app for young women, but then that was like kind of fizzled out. It's pretty expensive and just
yes, we have an
arduous climb.
Yes.
So then we just kind of like did a lot of brainstorming and decided, well, what is it that we would want to like encourage people in? And then basically the course idea came into action. And it's been such a wonderful journey to be able to create some of the kind of key things I've learned along the way, like adapting and putting that into like really approachable manner for anyone out there. And it's honestly a dream come true. We're still like in, I feel like, launching phase, so to say, even though it's been out for a year, but we were like creating as we were launching. So now we're kind of like got to the breathing place of like, okay, now let's get it out there.
For in particular, is it mostly for women or not necessarily?
It's not necessarily, but we've noticed it's more gravitating towards women. So the goal with the course is kind of to lead you on a journey of like, okay, we start with, say, for example, being present. We live in such a crazy world where everything's so fast paced. There's like this in our faces all day long. There's TV, there's a lot of noise, there's radios, there's just constant bombardment. And I think it's really stripping us of our joy and our need for intimacy with those around us, with our family, our husbands, our kids, our friends. Like, it's really stripping us of a lot of goodness that we're missing out on, so to say. And so from there, it goes on to like a lot of different topics, like overcoming obstacles, having a healthy mindset, health. I'm a big advocate for healthy living. I think because the athlete in me have just like learned, and I just see a lot of ill health stripping people of their joy across the country. It's a rampant thing. So kind of dives into all these different topics that hopefully will inspire you in an unstoppable life.
Yeah. Well, so if we have a listener who wants to check out your course, where can they go to find out more about that?
Oh yeah. Ladies, if you'd like to, I have a code. It's Caplocks Unstoppable 25 on any of my mini courses. And then there's the all-in like Unstoppable Life course too. So if you guys want to check it out, it's at BethanyHamilton.com.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay. So I want to do just a couple rapid fire questions as we get up here. So tell me your favorite television show or Netflix series right now.
Ooh.
I'm guessing busy mom. You're trying to have baby number 3, living in Hawaii. You don't watch a ton of TV, but
I literally I don't want to boast, but I'm pretty proud to say we literally have barely watched TV in the last 12 months. It's insane. And I'm not saying we never watch TV, but we did recently start a show called Pull Dark. It's a little dark, but not too bad. And it's pretty entertaining. Someone in our course community turned me on to it. She was like, check out this show.
Is it on Netflix?
No, we boycotted Netflix this last year. So we no longer have a Netflix. Got to put your money where you believe in it. And I just can't believe in Netflix anymore. All the weird stuff they're putting out there. But we do use Amazon Prime, which is probably like the same thing as Netflix. So, but we rely on Amazon Prime shipping to Hawaii like greatly. So it's not going anywhere.
I got you. Tell me your favorite food.
Ooh, I'm always a sucker for chocolate, but like oddly enough, one of my favorite meals is just like a good like bone broth vegetable like beef stew.
Alrighty then. It's just
Yeah.
a little bit of Midwest girl in her too. I'm actually from the Midwest.
I think it's my husband's a Midwesterner. So
where's he from?
He's from Kansas.
Okay, so I live in Missouri, which is right next door to I live in Kansas City. So where in Kansas? Where's his hometown? I am so putting you on the spot here, Bethany. If you don't know,
an hour outside of Wichita.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, small town boy. Like I think his initial childhood community was like a town of 100. So real small.
Awesome. All right, what's your favorite room in your house?
Ooh. Our lanai, or our front porch.
So do you see water from where you're at?
We're not near the beach, but we have a pretty view, and it's just like open to the fresh air, and it's a good like environment for just quality time.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, last one. Other than the Bible, favorite book?
Oh goodness. I love reading. I'm constantly reading. I don't know if I have a favorite though.
That you love?
What's that?
Have you read anything lately that you love?
Okay, I'm gonna say there's this book that really surprised me. The author actually sent it to me, and it's called Have More Fun.
Okay.
And I was like, gosh, I have so much fun. I don't need to have more fun. But then I randomly picked it up, started reading a chapter, and I got sucked in. And it was just so inspiring to live like more lightheartedly and lovingly and just have fun in every circumstance.
I love that.
And it was really cute. And I also really like this book called Rules for a Night.
Okay.
I would say it's for young men.
Okay.
But anyone could love it. Like I will probably read it like 15 times in my life, especially being a mom of 2 boys. I plan to read it to them a ton. So any of you moms that have a boy, like it's an amazing graduation gift. That's
awesome.
What I want. But it's like good for anyone because it's like about virtues, and it's written by this knight who is gonna go into battle, and he wrote like kind of a love letter-ish to his kids before battle. And I think he ended up dying in battle. So it was like what he left for his children, the things he couldn't like impart to them.
Fabulous. Fabulous. You're fabulous. I've loved having you here today. Thank you. When I saw you on the mastermind, like I said, I told my team, we've got to get her on the mastermind. So tell my listeners, where do you most like to play? Like if they want to come send you a DM or follow you somewhere, I think it's Instagram and not Facebook. Is that right?
I'm probably a little bit more active on Instagram, but I've been toning it back just because I'm heading into a busy season, but I am on there, and I'm on Facebook and Twitter and all those fun places.
All right. And you'd probably love people to go check out your website, BethanyHamilton.com. And then the last thing I wanted to tell you is if this isn't too weird, I've never done this on one single podcast, but one of my closest girlfriends, they're pastors at our church, their daughter, Emerson Rose, she is 6. Obsessed with you. She dressed up as you with her little cardboard surfboard for trick-or-treating this year and trick-or-treated with my daughter. So I know. So if you could just give a shout out to little Emerson, she's literally, when she found out I was interviewing you, she freaked out as a 6-year-old.
Aloha, Emerson. I wish you were here hanging with us, but Happy New Year. And I hope that you can overcome any obstacles that come your way. So lots of love from Bethany.
She's going to freak out. I'm going to be like her favorite person ever. So thank you for that. Bethany, you're fabulous. I can't wait to see just what you continue to do on this side of heaven. Thank you for, being unstoppable in all the things that have come your way, because you're blessing a lot of people because of that.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks so much for being here.
Aloha.